So today we're going to be making one of our favourite things to make on the barbecue, kitty sneeze, some delicious pulled pork. To make this, we've got a nice 5 kilo pork shoulder, which is one of the ideal cuts to make pulled pork with. It's probably the best one. This is sometimes referred to as a Boston butt. So to get started, we're going to need to pat down the meat to make sure it's all dry. So patting the pork down means that the rub is going to stick really well and a good bark is going to form without all that extra moisture in there that could make it a bit messy. Okay, so now it's time to trim some of the hard fat from this side of the meat. We do want to leave about 5 ml of fat underneath because fat is flavour after all, but we don't necessarily need all of this hard fat sitting on top. So I'm just going to grab one of my sharpest knives here and get started. As you probably noticed, I had accidentally cut through to the meat there. No biggie, you just don't want to do it too much, but yeah. So now we're about to apply our rub. We're going to use the same Texas style rub that we used on our pork ribs last time, because we like the way they turned out. But first we need to put a generous amount of olive oil all over the meat, just to make sure that the rub sticks properly. Do that on both sides, and then we'll shake over our rub. It's important to make sure you get the end of the cut of meat as well, not just the top and the bottom. And some for the other side. So now that the rub's on, I'm going to pat that in. And as I tilt it up, I want to make sure that I get that edge covered in rub as well. Being really generous with the rub. So that allows you to get that really nice, dark, crunchy bark. So now we're going to let the rub set so it really adheres to the surface of the meat. Now is a really good time to go set up your barbecue.
For this cook, we're going with the snake method to go low and slow. Check out our past video on the snake method in the top right hand corner.
We've laid the hickory chips onto the snake of coals, and now it's time to probe our cut of meat before we place it on the barbecue. When probing the meat, it's important to avoid putting the probe anywhere near the bone, just to make sure it's actually reading the proper meat temperature, but you still want to stick the probe into the thick piece of meat, not near the surface. So we're about 2 hours into our cook, so it's time to give the meat a spritz. I've made up a solution of half water, half apple cider vinegar, just about a cup. Feel free if you've got a normal little spray bottle at home just to use that, but we don't really have one, so I've got just a basting brush to flick it over. So we're really happy with the colour of that. It's nice and red. And hopefully the bark will start to darken up a bit later on. Alright, so the pork's just reached an internal temperature of 75 degrees Celsius. So we've pulled it out, laid down some alfoil. Now we're going to whack on a good amount of butter, honey and brown sugar before wrapping it on back up. And then we're going to put it into the Weber until it reaches a temperature that I've forgotten of 95 degrees or until it probes like butter. So the pork's reached 95 degrees internal temperature and it's probing like butter. So it's time to bring it out of the heat. Foil gets wrapped up so it's in a boat, and it's time to put some barbecue sauce on. We're using today Bullseye Tangy Tomato Barbecue Sauce, which is one of our favourites. So time to plug it on. Okay. And using a handy dandy basting brush, covering the meat. The bark is looking great so far. Okay, and that foil boat will really help capture any of the juices that run off, especially with this barbecue sauce on. So now this one goes back onto the Weber as is, uncovered in that boat shape, and that allows the sauce to set, get all caramelized and sticky.
After 15 minutes of cooking uncovered on the Weber, it's time to remove the pork before letting it rest for a further 15 minutes to let it cool before tearing it apart with your hands.
Easy as that. All right, let's give this a try. You can really taste the hickory smoke through that. Nice and juicy, soft, but not too mushy. Still got a bit of texture through there. Really good. Really happy with that. Ooh, it's hot. One of the great things about making pulled pork is you can have it in so many different ways. Tonight we'll be putting the pork into some burritos, but you can put it through some spicy rice, into things like s'more sliders, things like that. And after tonight, we're going to be getting the leftovers and putting it into some vacuum sealed bags to enjoy later on.
And that's it, ready to eat. I'm going to enjoy this dinner. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in next week's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.